proves that it is a particle. You are just taking
we have
a presuppositional position that it is a particle being absorbed and rejected.
Yeah, we have as they call it, machines that can take any organic molecule, basically send a light through them, get a spectrum, and it's exactly a fingerprint of the molecule.
So that's very interesting.
How do you,
where does the light
atomic absorption spectrography?
Where does the light being a particle come into the equation?
Exactly. Like, we're still waiting for that.
Again, energy, because light is part of energy.
Yes, energy, that's good.
Energy originates somewhere and can take different forms. A wave can become, wave energy can become heat. It can become a light photon, or it can become an electron in a wire, or a tension, a high tension.
So how do you know that when light is being generated from a transformational process, that a piece of matter is literally taken out of existence, a particle of matter taken? Oh, can I please, for once,
let him
finish? Okay. How do you have proof that when light is generated in some kind of process, that there is matter completely lost and perfectly transformed into this light?
It's not lost, it's a transition.
No, it should be lost. If it is a particle, then there should be a particle retracted within the reaction.
Whoa, sweetheart. You want to put words
in
my mouth?
Sweetheart, just answer the question.
I usually like a little lipstick before I pucker up.
Yeah, don't be sexist. Don't be sexist. Just answer the damn question.
Oh my God.
Now, you're trying to give the particle its own reality, weight, mass, all physical things.
No, I am taking the exception.
If anything happens with the particle, it'll cause the loss of an atom or something. Oh, we're talking about
but that's matter.
A wave that excites an electron in a higher orbit. That's what we're talking about.
You have no proof that it is a particle. You haven't introduced the particle anywhere. You just call it a particle all the time.
Atomic absorption meters work. A lot of things work, so I don't know.
He just doesn't know. He just doesn't know.
Can I pose a question?
He just doesn't know. So why don't you just say you don't know?
Hold on a second. There are photons because you can measure energy and momentum of the hit.
Show me a photon.
Say again?
Right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna pose a question here.
Show me a photon right now.
Why does light have to be material science? I know most of this, everything so-called science is an obsession with being material. Oh, it's the tiniest thing.
Partly electromagnetic.
No, I guess I wasn't.
Little balls in our mind. We have to see it like balls. It's a human nature.
Hey, let's look up sound particle, because ironically, there's no material particle in sound. And it's funny, there is a thing in Wikipedia, sound particle. In the context of particle displacement and velocity,
sound is merely the medium.
Particle is an imaginary infant, blah, blah, blah. So it's imaginary. Even
sound can be made to light through
energy. There's no proof of a particle.
Oh my God! So it just
sound makes
medium displaced.
Everything in science has to be material, is what you're saying.
It's an energy. It's force. There is no proof of a particle. It's very simple.
I agree with
sound can make light in a jar. A sound wave.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now, we are joined by Numminum, Milo, Mark Doxy, Jose, John, Jimbo, Eric, Chocolate Sayin, and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Hello.
Good evening.
Howdy.
Buenos dias.
Hello. So,
I still want to know why there's an obsession with everything being a material-based science.
Not everything is material-based.
Well, apparently some people do, and they have a problem with considering light and sound probably being more similar than we're told.
They're not. Sound is a displacement of a medium, right? Photons are particles.
By a wave,
No, they're
nonetheless,
energy. I have no proof they
sound
are
is
particles.
waves. Let's
Okay,
face it.
free for all, go.
Yeah,
One at a
John,
time.
I want you to prove that light
Light is
photon.
energy. There is
Arwin,
no
just one at a
proof of
time.
particle.
One at a time. Milo was in the middle of a
Okay,
sentence.
yeah.
Sorry,
So I
go
was
ahead,
saying, show us proof of protons right now. Show us a
That's
picture of something.
Wait,
No,
I agree. I mean, how many people are looking for proof of a proton?
Show us that or something. Prove it. What's the observed phenomena? How have we observed protons?
Protons have been chemically deduced. It's very complex
Exactly.
to actually
Just
prove
the
it.
model. Just the
Exactly.
model.
Yeah, it's a model, indeed. Like
It's
Naomi
all
said.
deduction, but yeah, I want John to show us that it's not deduction.
Yeah, but that's a problem with science. You
I
can
want- I
only go
want-
so far. Eventually, you will
hold
have
on.
to go to deduction-based assumptions,
I want him to
like
show
downward
us
acceleration force.
I want him to show us how empirical this is. Go ahead, John.
He's on mute at the moment. I don't know if he's even there. He could be going. You there,
He's
John?
not there?
He might not be. You know, just because he's here doesn't mean he's actually in front of his computer.
Oof, toasted
The
a fire
nuclear
for
model
real.
of the nuclear model of the atom is a model. It's a model.
And it's based on
Exactly.
deductions. It's a pretty reliable model, but it is based on deductions.
It's
just
all
on
based
downward
on
acceleration
science.
force.
Reliable in
Science is
some situations,
deduction.
not in others. I mean, the thing is that if we're going to just argue about citations, there's all kinds of wacky shit that's cited in science papers, including that they've put a probe around Saturn and seen a hexagonal permanent storm
Yeah,
on
I've
the
seen that
North
one.
Pole. So it's like, if we
Right.
can in any way verify these results for ourselves, why bother arguing it? This has nothing to do with flat Earth.
Exactly. You got to be consistent.
I have a video of amino acids being separated. Now, again, these are mixed isomers. They have the same mass, all of these things.
Is it
They're
CGI?
separated. No,
It's
it's
CGI.
laboratory, education, all that stuff, you know?
Yeah, it's CGI. You can't see single amino acids.
Yes, you can. The strips you take, and you take a solution of acid, you
Cool.
you
Present
wet
it.
it, and you see the vertical.
Hold up.
Present it.
lots to it.
That's a
I mean,
representation.
I'd love to see it. Present it.
it's in the side. Someone
You got to
please
understand
play this
something.
film.
Nummy
Someone-
Num doesn't
someone
believe
please
in
play this.
genetics.
I'm just tired of
Nummy
the
Num
badgering.
denies genetics and
Hey,
genes.
John,
I don't
did you hear my
deny it.
question?
I say that
Right.
it's not.
It's in
So
the
there
side
you go.
chat.
That's who
Someone's-
you're talking to. See, Nummy
Wait,
Num
wait, wait.
denies
Everybody wait.
genetics, right?
Yeah,
So
you deny
that's who we're
forces.
talking
You deny forces, John.
Yeah, that's a bigger.
I didn't deny it. I never denied it. I just said I don't believe it. That's different.
John,
Yeah.
how about you
That
show
is
us
different.
empirically that protons exist? Empirically.
Genetics doesn't exist. Genes don't exist.
Forces don't exist.
I didn't say I never said genes don't exist. I said I doubt whether DNA in the form of the spiral single molecule exists. Obviously genes exist, okay? Because genes is was an idea that's much older than the DNA model. When we argued about the DNA model.
Levi's, right? That's what you're
No,
talking
but see
about,
how you
Levi's?
just-
DNA
just
can be
misquoted
observed in a microscope.
what I said.
Wrangler
Completely
genes.
Talking about Wranglers.
Completely misrepresented what I said.
DNA can be observed in a microscope.
No, it can't.
Oh goodness.
Yeah,
It can.
I've seen
No,
it.
it can't. You cannot see DNA in a microscope.
If the microscope is powerful enough, definitely you can.
No, you can't. It's a single molecule. You can't see single molecules in a microscope. They don't have that.
DNA is not a single molecule.
Yes, it is.
I think you should look that up.
Ribonucleic acid is
no.
one molecule. The DNA molecule.
Sorry, you are correct. Let me correct myself. I was talking about chromosomes. Sorry.
Yeah. How about we stick to?
I've seen chromosomes in a microscope.
No, you haven't.
We get back to photons?
Yeah, I have.
No, you haven't. You looked in a microscope and saw a chromosome crawling around. No, you didn't. That's bullshit. Nobody's even claiming you can do that. It's all representations that are based on like chemical and.
No, I'm not talking about a video. I'm talking about looking through a microscope, putting a plate under there, and then
a microscope and see chromosomes. Sorry, nobody's even claiming that. You're regurgitating wrong now.
No, I said I've seen it with a microscope myself.
You haven't seen it because that's not possible.
Oh, really? It's not possible.
No, it isn't. Nobody and no scientist would claim that it is.
Okay, let me find proof that contradicts that.
Let's John, did you hear my question earlier? He's not there again. Great. So do you guys understand it that if you take
guess what I found here?
Hey, somebody was talking one by one. Why are you always talking?
Oh, Arwen, I just wanted to say one thing.
Go ahead,
so
Marlo.
if you guys are going to give John's claims any weight, you'd have to give the Globe Earth some credit as well, because John is doing the same thing Globers do when they get on the show. You understand? We come here with citations and proofs, but you ask us for empirical evidence. John hasn't presented any of that. I just wanted to make that aware.
I just want to ask Nami if that picture that I'm like presenting right now, if those first few photographs are CGI, according to you.
I don't know what they are, but you said you had seen it yourself.
Yeah,
and
it looked exactly like that when I looked into the microscope.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, Nami,
and I put the plate under there myself and didn't see anything before that.
Okay.
How do you know what you're looking at?
Which one? Because there are
if you zoom are chromosomes.
You're looking at that when you look at the.
So you're seeing parts of a molecule that's been split up. So they have. Okay.
Well, I don't know what they are, but they pretty much fill the description of what they say chromosomes look like.
You know what it looks like to me? Chopped up yarn.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll have to look into this more. I haven't examined this in quite some time, but
Shout out to Vinegar Strokes for the super chat. Thanks a million.
He viewed under a microscope.
Okay.
Officially.
Okay, so if it's
personally, just if I might, I think this whole DNA and genetics, I think it distracted us from, I think, bloods. I've looked into blood more, and it seems like the ruling elite have always been more obsessed with blood. So that's kind of like that's a red flag to me. Like, ooh, DNA. And anybody who believes into this this genome project, like I've had people totally defriend me because they got a result back saying they were part Jewish, and I'm like there's Jewish genes, seriously, and I don't like to hear that.
Yeah, they are.
But this whole
Jew is a religion, silly. There's no religion gene.
Well, apparently there's a Jewish gene for some reason.
And
Semitic
ridiculous
gene.
idea.
Not Jewish gene.
It's a religion. Anyone can become a Jew.
No, it's Semitic gene. A Semitic.
Well, okay. Listen. There are. I think genes do have a play because, like, a lot of people say, well, black people are prone to this disease and all that. But then you can break that down further. Like, my mother's side of the family is prone to, for example, diabetes, and my father's side is prone to arthritis. And okay, yeah, I get that. It's just,
what is your family tree? What type of Jew?
I don't know. I mean, me personally, it's mostly Mediterranean, Native American. I don't know.
Okay, that makes sense.
Jewish is
type Jew.
But you do realize that they're giving people back like that. These what do they call them? These. And by the way, YouTube's sister-in-law is one of the. I forget which one it is, but something family tree whatever, and people get stuff back that they're part Jewish. And then even higher.
They're partly a religion. They have
no the bloodlines.
Yeah, well, so they see that people whose families have been part of religions for a long time are related. Yeah.
I think they take it best. They say, wow, they see
Jewish is a catch-all phrase.
Of course it is.
There is the genetic lines
Not a catch-all phrase.
with the religion tradition, and there is just the religion.
It's just a religion.
No, it's not just a religion.
Yes, it is just a
No,
religion.
that is now that is how people think about it right now. Like
that's not how people think about it right now, but it's how they should. So do you think the black Nubians?
They should. Okay. Well,
wait. So,
Jewish bloodlines, or what about those Jews?
Are you claiming that there's a Jewish gene or Jewish blood or something that demarks somebody is Jewish?
Yes.
Are we getting into eugenics now?
Well, yeah, because it seems like they're bringing eugenics back and they're making it trendy.
Nah, don't worry about it.
Anybody can become Jewish. They have to accept you. Just like
that's the Jewish religion.
If I go to the synagogue, I want to be Jewish. They have to let me be Jewish. Then I'm Jewish, and so now I've got Jewish genes. So it's silly.
But that's the religion. It's not exactly the same. There is Jewish bloodlines, and there is the Jewish.
Well,
religion.
yeah. Listen,
families of people who are Jewish. There's no Jewish.
There is. Sorry to break it to you, it's very complex, but it is.
It's not complex at all. It's a religion.
Yeah, it is.
And there's people who are related to each other in the religion, and that makes sense. There's no Jewish gene. It's silly.
You know what
You're mixing
family tree lines, the different branches. Yeah,
well, there's
definitely.
a lot of them that are totally unrelated because there's black Jews in the Nubian Jews.
I know.
In relation to the European.
I know.
Yes,
they're a different branch.
But Arwen,
they're just people somewhere else who are Jewish practicing the religion. That's it's not a different branch of it.
They also have a gene in common with the Jews in Israel. You understand that?
Which Jews in Israel? The dark-skinned Sephardic ones, the Eastern European usurpers, or the
Ashkenazi,
or the
Ashkenazi? But those are the Eastern European ones. That's where they originate
people who are
from.
Jewish, they resemble the people that live in the geographic regions that they emerge everywhere.
Exactly.
There's black.
I'm going to do this test. I'm going to get my daughter's DNA and send it in. I mean, her mother's literally from China.
Hey, Eric.
She does not look Chinese.
Look, Jewish bloodlines and everything is like a giant lore on its own. It's really complex, okay?
Eric.
I think you've got to also realize that generations, you have over 1 million ancestors. The whole thing just gets diluted over like a period of 500 years.
I think it's a big
Say something.
Ancestors that don't show up whatsoever in whatever.
Can I say something?
Analysis you want to make? Yeah.
Hey, can you guys hear me? All right. So, Eric, the thing about these genetic tests is one testament to them being accurate is you as a white dude, you're not going to get back a result saying that you're black.
Of course. I know that. Of course.
So that adds to the validity. What'd you say?
Yeah, it's I mean, listen, I'm sure there's some science to it, but I'm
like,
gonna,
I'm
going to
probably not 100%.
How did we get from light being a particle or not to the Jewish bloodlines?
Because
You're quite right. I was going to interject at that point, actually, as we've been interrupted by, well, not interrupted, joined by Anthony, I should say. So I'll say a quick hello to Anthony. How you doing, Anthony? Can you hear us?
Yo!
Hello, good to have you. Hopefully you can bring this subject back onto Flat Earth. We shall see.
Yeah, I do have a question because I've missed the first show completely. I've only just got back home, but I wanted to know when you did housekeeping and you asked a question about evidence of gravity. Did anybody mention Slice Barkane's Cavendish?
Yeah, got into that.
Anthony, I watched the video, by the way.
You watched this video?
Yes, I did.
I watched it too, and I've asked him, can he tell me what the current accepted science is to explain what gravity is? Because there's two definitions. There's the Newtonian principle, which is that objects of mass attract other objects of mass. And there's the Einsteinian one, which is the bending of space-time. And obviously, I prefer the bending of space-time because that's like unobtainium. You can't ever prove that.
Though?
I've got some space-time to bend. Anybody want to come over to my house, have a few beers, and do an experiment? I got some.
Yeah, sure.
Well, Anthony.
Yeah, but we were talking, in our debate was actually about downward acceleration force. So,
downward acceleration force. Have you got any evidence for the force?
Yeah, I do.
So, Anthony.
But some people don't believe in force and try to scientifically disprove it, and then they failed miserably.
So, Anthony, you challenged me to watch this video, right?
Oh, right. Who am I speaking to? I can't see any names.
Milo. Milo.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I remember. It was the Brian Mullins one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I watched the video, and you said that he debunked the Cavendish with that video, correct?
I'd have to. I can't remember what his points were. Remind me what the points were, so I can remind myself.
Well, that's the thing. I don't even think he was attempting to debunk the Cavendish experiment. I think he was just outlining some problems with the test and how he would do it better.
That's not an experiment.
That's all he.
Well, okay,
did.
okay, all right. I'll concede. Let's carry that on. I'll concede that the Brian Mullen video didn't debunk anything. Okay. Let's go back to the definition of gravity as per science currently. Do we know what is the current definition for gravity in terms of science?
Well, if you want to stick to the Cavendish, it's mass attracts mass.
Is that the current science?
I don't want that.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Science, or has it been superseded?
Unproven. It's ridiculous.
What's wrong with the Cavendish experiment?
I'm just asking, what is the definition for science for gravity these days? Is it Newtonian or is it Einsteinian?
Hey, John, show us a photon. If you can't, then you can just be quiet.
Sorry, the question in hand is, what is the current definition of gravity?
Per science. What does science tell us gravity?
Now that Riley's here, maybe I can ask and add the question about the container that the brine solution, egg, and the freshwater solution are in.
Yes, definitely, Jimbo. We'll definitely come back to that.
Containing and
we will, Jimbo. We will definitely come back to it. But in the meantime, can we just let the question in hand be, what is the current scientific explanation or definition for gravity? We will come back to your now Anthony's here. Yes, noted.
Great, thank you.
So, does anybody want to volunteer what the current science is for the current understanding for gravity?
I can read it right out of what am I here on the British definition here?
Okay, go on.
Well, only do it in Oxford English.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing on the back.
Not American. You have to do the accent.
I used the British one. That's why I'm not a dumb Yank.
British one.
Bloody shit.
And next define it via the standard model of physics after your definition here. Okay? Thanks.
Number one, it is out of physics. Okay, it's the force that attracts a body toward the center of the Earth, of course. Sorry, I had to interject. Or toward any other physical body having mass. For most purposes, Newton's laws of gravity apply for most, with minor modifications to take the general theory of relativity into account. So they're trying to put Einsteinian. It's based on Newton still, and they're throwing a bit of Einsteinian in there.
Because they're both correct.
Oh, yeah.
Hang on. I've got look at my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
It's like the difference between pounds and kilograms. It's just you apply it in different places.
Well, can you guys see my screen?
What?
Can you see my screen?
No. What, you apply them? I want to hear that again. That statement you just between pounds and kilos. You just apply that. There's a huge difference. Oh my God. That was weird. Anyway, yes, we can see how Einstein revealed the universe's strange non-locality.
So look at the date. November the 1st, 2015.
Theorized.
Pardon?
Einstein didn't reveal anything. He theorized.
He also didn't debunk Newtonian physics either. So.
Oh, debunk. That's one of the words anybody who debunks. When I hear a debunk on any side of an argument, I think it's
yeah. The most overused word.
No, third graders debunk Einstein.
Can we go
quantum
through this?
mechanics?
Give me a couple of minutes. Let's go through this.
Yeah, but you can't even prove quantum mechanics, so you could be quiet.
Yeah.
So let me just go through this, just so that people in chat can benefit from
icon.
it. So it's dated 2015. It's quite recent, according to a guy called George Musa. This is in the scientificamerican.com website, right? It's entitled Space. Einstein revealed the universe.
No bias here whatsoever, right?
Pardon?
Not at all.
Nah, but what's interesting is about the words that they use in it, right? Everyday life, distance, and location are mundane absolutes. Yet physics now suggests at the most fundamental level that universe is non-local. There is no such place as space or distance. Initially, Isaac Newton's concept of gravity seemed to imply the phenomenon of non-locality because the attractive forces between masses appeared to act magically.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. How can
Sorry,
you
I got stuck on that picture right there.
Why don't you let him finish?
Yeah, why are you both interrupting him? Arwen and Eric. I've got you.
Who's this clown? Who's this clown, Eric?
Sorry,
Shut up.
Okay, will do.
So Albert Einstein's general relativity instead ascribed gravity to the curvature of space-time, yet it induced a deeper sense of non-locality by showing that space-time positions have no intrinsic meaning. Now, watch what it talks about here. I'll have to let me just see. This is quite a big document. I want to find the part where it talks about. I might have to do a search actually. Let's just do a search, and we'll add the guy's name, Newton. So, for instance, Einstein created his general theory of relativity, which provides our modern understanding of gravity. Right. So the modern understanding of gravity is the bending of space-time, gentlemen. It's got nothing to do with Isaac Newton's force attracting mass or mass attracting force. So with the express purpose of expunging non-locality from physics, Isaac Newton's gravity acted at a distance, as if by magic, and general relativity snapped the wand in two by showing that the curvature of space-time, and not an invisible force, gives rise to gravitational attraction. So if Einstein's theory of general relativity is that it snaps the invisible force of gravitational attraction in half, then all these experiments that are claiming to be experiments that are not actually experiments to do with the Cavendish, according to Einstein, are useless because it's got nothing to do with the force that attracts things together, masses towards each other. It's to do with the curvature of space-time. So for to prove, it gets worse for you guys, because if you guys are to prove that gravity is a thing, no longer is it a mass that forces an attraction towards another mass. Now you guys have got to bend space-time. So I'm looking forward to all the recent up-to-date modern interpretations of bending space-time to prove gravity, gentlemen. Any questions?
Anthony,
that means you're a clown.
Yes, I have a question.
That's what he just said, basically.
Go ahead, Milo. Go ahead, Milo.
Do you think this debunked Newton's gravity?
According to the article, the current definition for gravity is the bending of space-time. It is not the force that attracts masses.
No. So what Newton did was show that mass attracts mass, and what Einstein did was explain why.
No,
no, John, you could be quiet.
No, sir, because
John, you could be quiet.
Newtonian gravity is in Euclidean 3 space. Einsteinian gravity is pseudo-Ramonian 4 space. Newtonian gravity travels at what? Instantaneously.
Right.
Einsteinian gravity is what? Can't exceed the speed of light. You couldn't get more two different things if we did it on purpose, you clown.
Right. So you can be quiet now. So Isaac
Newton, Milo, just so that I know that you've understood this, read what's on screen highlighted.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Isaac Newton's gravity acted at a distance as if by magic. So at that time, we did not know why gravity worked. Why? We didn't know why.
You didn't read. Can you read the second part?
Yeah, you didn't seem to read the rest of it, Milo. Can you read the entire paragraph from start to finish so that we know that you A, have read it, and B, have understood it? Thank you.
I'm going to read it. All right. So from Newton's understanding, he didn't know the why.
You're not reading it. You're now saying something else. Yeah? So we want you to read the paragraph that is highlighted in blue. It starts with the word Isaac Newton's. Anthony, can you put it back up on screen?
Hello, shut up.
Anthony, you've just taken it off screen like you typically do at just the wrong moment.
Sorry.
Anthony, thanks a bunch.
One at a time.
So, Milo, what we would like you to do, right? I don't care how long it takes. You will read this paragraph for the audience. So we know you've A, read it, and B, understood it.
I am going to read it. All right. I want to make sure you understand it. So, okay. As if by magic and general relativity snapped the one and two by showing the curvature of space-time and not an invisible force give rise to gravitational attraction.
That's excellent.
Right.
Very well read. Do you, Milo, understand what that means in terms of objects of mass attracting one another? Yes or no?
No, you have to understand that.
Oh, I have to understand, do I? I'm asking you if you've understood it, and you're telling me what I need to understand, even though you're the one that's now reading the paragraph, and we're asking part B. Do you understand it?
I'm going to tell you what that paragraph means.
It's self-explanatory. Yeah, but you seem to deny it.
Listen. Milo, listen. Just read the last bit in blue, please.
Yeah, he's never going to read it. He's just going to jabber and jabber and jabber indefinitely.
I'll read it again.
No, just a bit in blue. Come on.
Gravity acted at a distance as if by magic. What does that sentence mean?
It means that Newtonian gravity is like magic. Yeah?
Yeah.
Nonsense. Magic. Stuff that you can pick apart and figure out how the smoke and mirrors work. That's magic.
That's not what it means.
Magic. Yeah, I did magic at college. I know what magic is. Smoke and mirrors, my friend. Deception. Forgery. I studied magic. Oi, Milo, I studied magic. I absolutely assure you I know what magic is. It's smoke and mirrors, my friend. It's deceiving people into thinking that the unexplainable has happened when it is actually very much explainable.
I'll read it again.
Wait, Nathan.
Are you rumpusses, Milo?
I'll read it again.
Let Milo.
Eric, I'm never going to get through it.
No, wait. I want you to go piece by piece and translate it into English, okay?
Hey, I don't think they're going to allow me to. You know?
That's what I want to hear you.
Why do we need a translation? It is in English, Eric. You absolute buffoon. No need for any translation, my friend. It's not in Spanish.
No, you want to misunderstand
Milo,
it
just
on
do me a
it's
favor,
in
Milo, for me.
English. We don't need it translating. It's in English.
Milo, just for me, mate. Just read this line in
blue.
blue.
Let's translate it to Milo. Let's hear Milo.
No, we don't need to translate it to retard.
There we go. So you see, Eric? I'm not going to get through it. That's okay.
Okay, so I'll do it for you then, Milo. The workings of gravity turn out to be sparkling with a non-local phenomena. What that tells you is that we're never, ever, 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 ever going to be able to repeat it. Ever. Because it's non-local.
We can move on.
Correct.
You want to misunderstand things? That's fine.
Not misunderstanding, it's called reading. He's read it off screen. You refused to and gave us a load of grief.
No, it's called misunderstanding.
No, it's called reading. It's not misunderstanding. The words are there. You can read them or deny them. That's your choice.
So I can go.
So
let me go sentence by sentence. No, Jose,
this is you. No, you're not gonna tell me I gotta stop just like that. No, you're not the you're not the host of the show. Yes, I'm going to say something. All right. So what you want is to read this line, and you want to interpret it the way you understand it, and you want us to accept it all, and you want, I haven't finished it, and you want us to all accept the interpretation that you know, that you accept, and that's it, period, because you're right? Because you know?
And you want us to accept your interpretation of what's being said. You understand that?
No, we don't accept it either. We tried this earlier and tried to explain how quantum mechanics debunks Einstein, so we don't accept this. Yeah, but this is you and your acceptance of current science. That's why we're using it against you.
I accept this whole paragraph.
Oh, really? Well, then, in that case, objects of mass don't attract one another. That's just magic.
Hey, that's not what the paragraph is saying.
Yeah, it did. It specifically said that it was like magic. Do you want to bring it back up, Anthony? Let's just read it one more time. Obviously, when Milo read it, he didn't understand it. That's why he obfuscated when I got to part B. Did you understand it, Milo? Obfuscation, obfuscation, obfuscation. Yeah? Do you see what's on screen, Milo? Isaac Newton's gravity acted at a distance, as if by magic.
Now it's no longer magic.
Smoke and mirrors, deception, a little trick. Yay, magic. Yay. Not reality, Milo. You didn't seem to understand that bit.
Look,
if I say as if by magic, am I being a nice person or am I being sarcastic?
Yeah, we don't need an analogy. It's in English. Thank you. I already told you it's not in Spanish. No need for a translation, Eric.
What they're meaning to say is that the why was unknown. So
really? So you don't know why gravity? That's an interesting statement to make, Milo.
What?
As if by magic. Analogy.
As if by magic.
Yeah, as if by magic.
Can I just add something here? I know that Milo's getting his arsehole ripped a new one, but let me just add something else.
Go on,
if gravity was this downward acceleration force, how does that now change in light of the current science according to 2015?
Okay, don't get that involved.
There's no force
with any of this.
So why don't you
Hold on.
explain to me?
No, give him let's give him turns to be triggered. Right. Who first, Milo or Arwin? Who's the most triggered?
I'll go first. So
I think you've been outvoted with who's most triggered. You're more triggered. You go ahead. You can't seem to help but talk, Milo, so you go first.
It's a low blow, Nathan.
Right. I know you're equally triggered, Arwin. You don't need to fight for who's most triggered over this. I know it's annoying to both of you.
Okay, so by Einstein's understanding, what is bending space-time? What?
Who cares? This is the current scientific understanding, and it debunks objects of mass attracting one another like magic.
Einstein answered the why. Newton.
No, he didn't. He redefined it, you moron.
Understand?
Read what it says. Look, read it again. Start again. Come on.
Although we need to go back a step. Milo, when you read, do you have the powers of comprehension?
Do you?
Well, yeah, I can read and comprehend words on screen.
Don't.
Yes.
You obviously
yes,
don't.
My answer is yes, Milo. Now you try. Do you have the power of comprehension?
You're obviously dumb.
Yeah, you are obviously dumb if you lack the powers of comprehension. Part B was read and understand. Clearly, you don't understand. That much is clear.
At the point where Isaac Newton proved his mass attracted mass, he did not know why.
He didn't prove mass attracts mass. He didn't have a valid scientific experiment. Do you understand that, Milo? How many times have we got to smash the living daylights out of the Cavendish experiment before you will actually understand that they didn't have a valid scientific experiment?
He did not understand why mass attracted mass.
I don't need you to tell me that mass attracts mass. The current understanding in science is that that's magic, my friend.
It was as if by magic.
Yeah, as if by magic. Yes, finally we get to some comprehension. Excellent. So you understand that it's as if by magic. Wonderful. Some progress at last. So objects of mass attracting one another is like magic.
No, as if.
Yeah, as if by magic. Yeah, as if by magic.
Yeah,
because
it's incomplete. They didn't know yet.
Well, what's the evidence of space-time fabric?
Let's dwell on this point first, because we can enjoy this and dwell on magic for weeks.
Because
there is no magic. It is as if.
There is no magic. There is no force. There is no gravity. Yes, that's absolutely right. I love it. This is good fun, Anthony. Thanks for joining.
No worries.
No worries. Who should we pummel? I mean, to be fair, Arwin was in the queue for a pummeling.
Well, see, the thing is, I like
No. Don't bring this back to me. You are misinterpreting his words.
When we were figuring out who was the most triggered, Arwin, you were fully piping up, my friend. So, right, we've got this magic, this force that's like magic, Arwin. Downward force, right? Like you think we've got.
One of the smartest people on this whole panel. I'll tell you that right now. He's one of the...
Milo, you've had your turn to be triggered. Your ass has already been ripped a new one. Shut up.
Yeah, me and Arwin are ripping...
Shut up, Milo. Yeah, you've already had your tongue lashing. Shut up.
Drink a warm
Darwin's
glass.
turn. Bloody sadist, all of you.
Am I going to be
masochists? Get it right way around.
Am I going to be allowed to say something without being immediately interrupted?
Of course.
Just asking.
Go ahead.
Right. So what Milo was stating is that this statement is a sign of incompletion, and there has apparently, according to him, been a further explanation built upon this concept, because it is at this point incomplete. That is what the as if as magic stands for. That is all. Doesn't mean that it actually proven.
Anthony,
highlight
not.
Hey,
Milo
I
gave
wasn't
this
finished.
paper.
Yeah, you are finished.
No, I am not finished.
You guys don't know.
Go on, John.
Read.
Hold on. Hold on. We've had a lot of everyone else. Come on, John's been very patient. Just let John have a few words. Come on.
No, I'm not finished yet. It's still my time to be triggered. Anthony wanted to bring in the downward acceleration force that has nothing to do with this whatsoever.
Big rabbit hole. We don't want to go there.
Absolutely nothing to do with any of this.
That's exactly what it's talking about. Downward acceleration force in the world of heliocentricity is the object of mass that we stand upon, attracting the objects of mass that are not upon it. So that's exactly what we're talking about. While you defy it, Arwin.
Nothing to do with it.
That's what they define it as, Arwin. We established this earlier. If you want to redefine it, that's fine. But you have to come up with definitions and experimental proof for it.
Downward acceleration force. It has nothing to do with mass being attracted to other mass, which this entire body theory here is surrounded around, and my downward acceleration force has nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
so it's a real low blow to involve this because
it's
I don't.
Force.
Didn't listen.
Hey, Anthony, go highlight not a force.
You don't believe in force.
Yeah, so you could just be quiet. You don't believe in anything.
The point is that Arwin's defining it using these terms and then simultaneously saying, these aren't my terms.
I don't.
Milo tell us the meaning of the paper. Arwin tell us what Milo means. That's crazy.
You wouldn't understand anything I told you, so you could just be quiet as well.
Well, that's a wonderful rebuttal, Milo, about as useless as a fart in a jacuzzi.
Triggered.
Nathan, you drink piss, so you can just be...
Yeah, that's a brilliant ad hominem attack. You are scraping the barrel after having your arse ripped. Yeah? Do you want us to stamp on your head again with this absolute garbage that you think happens? This fantasy magic that you think exists? Shut up.
Oh, look. Trigger.
Shut up, Milo.
Arwin hands you a
Shut
new one
up,
every time.
Milo. Milo, you petulant little brat. Shut up.
He's a crayon muncher, man.
Yeah, he's a crayon muncher. Go back to your
scribbles,
crayon
you
muncher.
don't need to. You don't need to ad hominem at all. You don't need to humiliate him.
We didn't ad hominem.
You just need to remind him that he has no proof for mass being connected to other mass and leave it to that. All this ridiculousness.
Guys, stop.
This is all below any of them.
Arwin, we had Milo with this. Now, Arwin, would you mind reading this bit that's highlighted in blue, please?
Wait, can I read the last sentence?
I don't care for the pseudoscience.
The last sentence is so magical. It's so...
I don't care for any of this pseudoscience.
The workings of gravity turn out to be as sparkling. Oh my God, my feelings.
Do you believe in magic?
I get, yeah, some people call it
depends on how you define magic, but it has nothing to do with my theory.
Come on, it doesn't really.
With my concept of downward acceleration.
It's a good song.
Whatsoever.
That's a good song, man. Do you
believe in magic? Be magic now?
Yeah.
It all depends on how you define it.
Spoonful.
So, Arwin, could you read this bit in blue, please, and tell us how you interpret it?
I interpret it as pseudoscience. It has nothing to do with anything.
It has your force in there.
Yeah, but with regards to your gravitational downward acceleration force that you keep citing...
It has nothing to do with it.
Force!
It has everything to do with it.
No, it doesn't.
Can I have 1 minute on this one?
Sure.
Again,
everyone else has.
No.
And it does relate to the egg and the solution and stuff. Could you actually put it up on the screen? Because I want to go one step further with this.
Hold on.
Dude? I just want to... Hang on. While I've got this on screen, I'd rather see Arwin's one snapped in two.
Hold on. No. Let's get some order. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Let's just round this out with Arwin, then John. Then we can move on to something that Jimbo's been waiting an eternity to do. So, Arwin... Can you respond? Then we can move on to John. Then we can get to Jimbo.
So, Arwin, read this paragraph and tell us particularly snapping the wand, this bit here. Because this is your gravitational force, your downward gravitational force bit. Tell us what this means.
That's a straw man.
Why,
All right, read it. Jeez.
He's not going to... He's refusing, so fine.
I'll read it.
To do with this? Why should I read this?
I can read it.
If you don't want to, fine, no problem, Arwin. Let's just move on. Let's just move on to John. Then we can get to Jimbo finally.
Okay, I'll read it. Isaac Newton's gravity acted at a distance as if by magic, and general relativity snapped the wand in two by showing that the curvature of space-time, that is the cause, and not an invisible force, gives rise to gravitational attraction. Have a nice day. Good night.
There is no force, Arwin.
Let's move on. No, that's it. That's the end of that. Right, Jimbo, you've got it on the same lines, but it's a different aspect. So, Anthony, while Jimbo summarises his point, is there any chance you can bring up Phuket Word's egg in 2 glasses test, please?
Are they implying that space-time curvature is visible somehow?
It's a nonsense, Nummy. I agree. We can cross that bridge another day. Come on, please give me a break.
What causes gravity?
Yeah,
right.
This is a great video. Phuket World does really great.
Can you just hold on, everybody? Stuff. Just let Jimbo. Please don't interrupt him. Jimbo, go ahead.
The eggs again.
Can you just explain your point to Anthony?
We get to the one where the egg is suspended in this cylinder. Now, it's open to the air. Now, it's easy to imagine a lid on it, and our ability to increase the pressure, the air pressure. Now, that increase in air pressure in a sealed volume will affect the egg in the water and where it floats and its buoyancy. It'll apply a downward force or an upward force, depending on whether you reduce or increase.
A force, did you say?
Pressure.
A force. Well, John, you got to object to that because you don't
Arwin, just give him a break.
Increasing the pressure
Arwin, you had an opportunity
above the egg and the saline, and that changes the relative pressure on the outside of the egg, and it will move in consequence.
Exactly. You know, Arwin, when you say force, you're talking about Star Wars crap, okay?
No, I'm not.
Come on, Eric.
No,
I just want to get this out of the way because otherwise it's unreasonable on
Jimbo.
Eric and Arwin, please. I just want Anthony to respond to it.
Forces.
Come on, it's being levelled at Anthony. Just let Jimbo get to the end of his point and let Anthony respond. Then it's free for all.
Yeah, well, the point is, you know, without, you know, even this one's open air, like I say, it could be sealed and it could be pressurized. And varying the pressure will vary where that egg adjusts to.
Will it?
I'm pretty sure.
I'd like to see
it will, because it'll heat the water.
I have a hard time understanding how that would work if it's based on the dissolved electrolytes in the water.
The egg is a shell. It has a certain internal pressure.
Yeah, but you're not going to...
If its volume can't change and the pressure of the solution around it changes, its internal pressure...
What's your point? Yeah, but the water is not density. So how is pressurizing the
air is increasing the pressure on the sides of the container, on the surface of the solution, everywhere.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily think that's going to mean the egg's going to float in a different place.
I'm not sure, but I suspect it would. It'd be interesting to see that one done with a lid and pressure.
Yeah, it would be.
But
you could do it.
Am I right in saying there is no question or point? It's just making a point. Is that right?
I'm making a point. Like I say, this experiment is contingent on another thing that, well, is like an imposter in this scene. It's the containers themselves. We see them open and at a normal atmospheric pressure, but even if you increase the atmospheric pressure on this volume with the egg suspended, it would act like a barometer. It would rise and fall with the relative air density.
Yes.
So what? That's not exerting a force that's gravity on it, though. Which was the point?
Correct.
I don't think it would because the liquid is not compressed.
Oh, it would. It would.
That is true. You cannot compress water.
So I think that what you'd get.
That is true.
Is that you'd get a problem where if you just increase the stress on the container, you wouldn't affect the compression. You wouldn't affect the water pressure.
Yeah, you can't compress water. It's one of the unique elements of water.
If you why would adding air pressure change the relative buoyancy of the egg in the water when you can't compress? You're not going to be able to compress the water anymore. That doesn't make any sense. I'd like to see this experiment, but I predict the opposite of what you're predicting.
Yeah. It's going to function exactly the same in a stationary setting.
Gases are compressible.
In any event, it's irrelevant because the point of this video is to show that by varying the density of the water, the egg displaces the water around it, or the water displaces the egg. Either way, there's no force of gravity.
It's not exactly news.
But if the air pressure was different, that's a conditional and a condition that can exist that would vary the result of buoyancy of the egg. Well,
the point is it's gravity related.
There are instruments that work on pressure and air pressure.
No, but it's the container.
It's every time Jimbo talks, it ends up being three people talking when Jimbo tries to. I never seem to hear a full sentence from Jimbo. I don't know what it is about your voice, Jimbo, but people just talk over you.
Too slow.
Yeah, too slow.
Yeah.
Seriously, speed it up, dude.
Well, like I say, the air pressure over this example would vary. You know, you could actually increase, decrease, I believe, the air pressure over an enclosed system, and that egg would rise or fall, depending.
How would that
prove it?
Phil Stein, dude.
Well, at least it's not a multi-million-dollar thing to try to prove. I don't.
Hang on. You understand that you can't. But you understand you can't compress the water.
Well, hang on. You can't change the
density
density
of exerted on the water that's transferred to the egg. You can.
Yeah, but you're not. You're going to all you're going to do by pressurizing the air is increase the stress on the container, you're not going to actually compress the water. You're not going to change the density buoyancy relationship between the water and the egg, no matter how much you increase the pressure of the water.
Exactly.
Well, the pressure in the egg is contained, limited.
If you remove the pressure,
as well as the water,
water, right?
The relative density,
it's going to exert a different force in the liquid that it's in.
You know, you're cutting me off, but I'm saying the relative density buoyancy the ratio that dictates that relationship is not going to change by adding air pressure.
Indeed, because it only does when you actually apply forces to them.
So when you put something that's floating in a vacuum on the surface of water, it doesn't sink because of the reduced pressure in the water? It does?
No, it will function exactly the same.
Well, the water is going to boil if you put water in a vacuum, right? Because there's nothing to contain the molecules at the surface. So the water is going to boil and then it's going to freeze.
It also lowers the pressure on the surface.
Yeah, but that's not going to affect the buoyancy of an object floating on it. No, it won't.
Indeed. Exactly. You're exactly right, Dummy.
Because all buoyancy density are just about displacement of mass. It's not about...
I think it's worth, and it doesn't cost $1 million,
Well, you're the one making the claim, so you do the experiment and we'll see. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't...
Oh, I'm sure other will,
Oh, man.
Go ahead. Take your money.
All I'm saying is that the container is important in the demonstration of the salt in the solution. And also, if there were other variables, such as air pressure, it would affect where the egg sits.
Yeah, but
I disagree.
I'll probably find one online that someone's already done too.
All right, we'll go and find it.
We'll see.
Yeah, because I think you're misunderstanding.
I'm not. No.
You're misunderstanding the mechanism of buoyancy. That it's about displacement, not about compression, not about compressional forces.
It's not
so
about
if you have
pressure.
a log or a piece of wood on the water and you expose it to a vacuum, it won't sit higher on the water.
No,
but that's only because the buoyancy of what is above it becomes lower.
Wait, what did he say?
It won't sit higher on the water. It will not. I don't think it will.
No, it will because there's less air pushing against it.
In a vacuum, the water's going to boil and then freeze, and then the wood will be sitting on top of it.
No, the water will boil and the egg
you don't have to go to a full vacuum either to do tests,
Indeed.
Well,
not
then
always
put it in a vacuum.
No, that says he is correct, but it's not
about displacement, not about pressure within the substance.
Yeah, but guys, gents, if you
it's
don't
the
mind,
gas pressure. If something is lighter than water, then there will be a buoyancy differentiation. But if an object is heavier than the water, then it doesn't matter what the gas pressure above it will be. It will stay in the relational exact same position.
Yeah.
Let me just remind people watching what the purpose of that experiment was. And the purpose of it was to show that you do not need a force to change or to move the egg. You just need a little bit of salt in the water. So as John would say, the independent variable was
nothing
the salt.
to do with it.
It wasn't the gravity.
What?
Well, if you think of it, adding salt to the water increases the density of the water, or its volumic mass, and it exerts a force on the egg that's retained by the walls of the container.
Even though that's wrong,
that is the pressure effect of buoyancy.
There's still forces involved in that experiment, and that experiment was not done to disprove Newton's first law of gravity.
You're adding mass to the water, basically.
You're just displacing different amount of material once you dissolve the salt. That's all.
This guy really thinks that he disproved Newton's first law of motion with eggs dunked in water. Like
that's exactly what he did. That is exactly what he did.
I'm sorry. You can try again.
It doesn't work. The buoyancy functions if there is a pressure being applied to the matter.
You guys saw it. All he did was change the salt. That's all he did.
That was a cute try, though. Try again, though.
What do you mean try again?
This in our private hangout yesterday in detail. You ignored it.
Gravity off. Yeah, I know he ignored it.
Yeah, well, we didn't even cover the separation of isomers on paper in vertical rows. All of the same atomic mass weights. Where's gravity?
No. What if? Hey, listen. Let's call them both
present. When you apply other forces, the density and buoyancy rearranges itself according to the new forces being applied.
Well, James, I just want to see James. That the guy who's talking slow.
I posted it.
Okay. Well, I'm curious now to see this experiment. That if you increase this air pressure, you're going to change the You know, because I don't think that that's true.
Well, I'll check on that one, and in the interim, again, these
substances
of equal mass that separate vertically and horizontal rows on paper is a second thing. I'll look at that. You look at this video and explain where gravity is used to separate horizontal rows.
The environment of an egg. No, man.
Yes.
So we still want to talk about putting a vacuum and air pressure over it. No, there's two environments.
Well, give me time to look it up, and you know, rather than argue in the wind, and you know, I'll see if I can find some video that's.
I'm looking forward to your proof.
Sinking relative to vacuum pressure, and you know, I should be ready with it tomorrow.
I got a good experiment. Maybe we can go up to Canada when they're floating logs down the river, and maybe we can put a vacuum over the Saskatchewan River and.
How are you going to do that? It's going to suck up the water.
Can we get back to reality? Can we get back to reality here and talk about a vacuum?
A reduced pressure.
What?
Reduced pressure.
Is that supernatural?
You know, there are a lot of words that apply to stuff. You can apply a reduced pressure to a medium.
The experiment proves
reduced pressure is not truly a vacuum in the sense that vacuum may be construed as extreme, you know? Like
find your proof. We got your theory.
But yeah,
Arwin, you understand that water pressure?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Arwin, do you understand that water pressure has many different properties than air pressure?
Of course.
Okay.
Now this pressure is being caused by a force being applied.
Right. So what the experiment shows is that the environment, of the egg can be lighter than the environment of water with saline, made saline.
Yeah, I know. It just proves how density.
And I'm sure there might be a way to make an egg float.
Well, it would have to be hollow.
Right. Well, we're getting towards that way, but it's step by step.
There is an air sac at the end of an egg too.
It just proves density and buoyancy. It doesn't even apply.
No,
it has no relation because I'm not trying to disprove. I didn't try to disprove density and buoyancy because it is part of the
what it does show
function
is that no forces,
in which I am trying to prove that there are forces being applied. It's part of it.
Arwin, what it does show is that no force is required to make a movement, just a little bit of salt. That's the point that you're missing.
I think that's probably going to be the point that I round out. So with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible, and of course a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do, but if you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you have not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!